All right, our friend Andy Robinson over from Video Games Chronicle, who is the editor-in-chief of Video Games Chronicle and the owner of it. And he used to work at Playtonic. He was actually one of the writers on Yooka-Laylee, if you remember that. Anyway, he's a very reliable source, very friendly source. And he reports on Twitter, although I didn't see this written on their website, I might have missed it. Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake, which they've been reporting on for a while, is now a 2024 title, and there's still talk of a Metal Gear Solid re-release of some kind. E3 window was their marketing plan last he heard, he writes. So Metal Gear Solid 3, they seem to be going in this direction. And what I wanted to kind of, we've talked about this in the past, but if they're starting there, is the assumption that they're going to do this chronologically? Because why else would you start there? I know some people think that's the best Metal Gear game, but I don't think the consensus is quite there to make that the obvious entry point. And I think it's actually a little bit dangerous to do that game. So I give Konami a little bit of credit, although I think that this began before, obviously, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. But that game's all about Russians. All of them are Russian. Speaking Russian the entire time. Although they don't, which is annoying. And I hope that when I've said in the past, I hope in the remake they actually speak Russian like they're supposed to be in the entire game. So do we assume that because it takes place in the 60s, which is basically the beginning of the chronology, that that's where they're beginning and then they'll go from there? And do you like that decision? Because I personally would rather them start with Metal Gear Solid 1, just because I think it's in desperate need of a rehaul, and it's fucking awesome too.
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway, what are your thoughts?
I'm in agreement. I think that starting here kind of sucks, actually. And it's not that Metal Gear Solid 3 sucks. That's not what I mean. I think that I liked at the time when the games came out how 3 took things back. It was very interesting to get some of this backstory, some context of what you learned about in the first 2 games. And we're in many generations after Metal Gear Solid 1. This will be a lot of people's maybe even first experience with Metal Gear Solid, and they're going to be starting here. And I don't know, maybe I'm stuck in my ways in that I feel like people should have the same experience we did playing these in the order they were released. I'm curious. I'm not too in tune with what the Metal Gear fan base thinks at large. I know that a lot of people think 3 is the best. So I think this makes sense from that perspective. But man, I would so much rather have 1, like 1 and 2 remake in particular than 3. And I want 3 also. Don't get me wrong. Like if they did all of them, that'd be sick. And then they could finally do a remaster of 4, get that out on current consoles. That would be amazing. It's like they're leaving money out on the table with these games. People are hungry for Metal Gear. So I don't know. This is a weird one for me. It's in a weird spot. I'm curious, since there are rumors about his exact tweet here says it's loading. Let's see, a Metal Gear Solid re-release of some kind. I wonder what that means. Does that mean something as simple as a port of the old HD remasters from Bluepoint?
You mean those? Okay. Well,
that's only 2.
That's 2 and 3. Yeah. The only time 1 was ever messed with was when Silicon Knights remade it.
Twin Snakes.
On GameCube, which is, I actually like Twin Snakes, but it's not really, it was so soon and it's not really right. I think everyone kind of acknowledged there's something not right about that game. It's cool though. You know, Dennis Dyack, whatever. It's like, very weird. Dennis Dyack and Hideo Kojima. Okay. So MGS1, they can't release MGS1 as it is. They can't. I don't care what anyone says. That game, dude, I was there fall 1998. I was playing it. It was beautiful. I loved it at the time, but it does not hold up anymore from any perspective. And that's a shame because it is so cool. Shadow Moses is such a cool setting. It's like the castle in Castlevania or the mansion in Resident Evil. Or Ishimura in Dead Space. It's its own really dope military complex. Its own, the Shadow Complex. It's a venue. And imagine it being just totally remade on the PS5. Imagine Psycho Mantis on the PS5, Vulcan Raven on the PS5, Decoy Octopus on the PS5.
Oh,
I mean, that to me gets me more excited. And Konami's flippancy, and because they've shown this already with Silent Hill. They're like, no, we're just going to go right to Silent Hill 2. It's like, I respect that in some sense. Silent Hill 2 is the famous one, and they're doing the same thing, I guess, with Metal Gear Solid, but you're kind of handicapping your ability to just do them all. Why would you go to do Silent Hill 2 and then do Silent Hill 1 after that? Unless you're just never going to do that again, or you're just going to begin some sort of new timeline here. It just seems like it's not taking the long view. And I would think Konami is one of the rare companies with their back catalog that can take the long view and say, like, we have we're in no rush. We have Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Peace Walker, the original Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2 if we wanted to mess around with those, and then a pantheon of games and other platforms, and we don't need to do anything. We can just do them slowly. Everyone's going to buy your Metal Gear Solid remake. Whether or not they hate you, because it's going to be a big deal if and when they do it. People are going to be pissed, but they're not going to be that pissed. Mm-hmm. I will love to see Metal Gear fans, some of the most hardcore people in the world, not buy a Metal Gear Solid remake. Or not buy Metal Gear Solid 3 remake or whatever. That's going to be an interesting thing, though. And I'll be interested to see what Kojima has to say about that. And what kind of interactions Konami has with the industry at large. Like, will Konami show something at the Video Game Awards? That seems like that's a burned bridge, right? I don't know. A lot of interesting avenues to explore. But nonetheless, according to our friend Andy Robinson, Metal Gear Solid 3 remake in 2024.